Tip Friday.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special edition of Fit Tip Friday. Once a month, I will be interviewing wellness professionals on various health-related topics. Today, I am so pleased to welcome from the UK, Natalie Jayne. Natalie is a body image coach and supports women to build their self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem beyond their appearance, so they are no longer a slave to the scales, diet culture, and societal expectations and pressures that are making them unhappy and missing out on living their lives. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is such an important topic, and it's one very near and dear to me. So, Natalie, let's go right back to basics. What is body image?
Yes, very good question. So thank you for having me on. So it is a brilliant question because so often I either get people asking me exactly that question or approaching me looking for support that I don't give because they'll think maybe it's around actually changing how we look. So people might come to me asking for diet advice or fitness advice. If it's fitness advice, I send them your way. But yeah, so it's not about wanting to lose weight, and it's not about actually wanting to change how we look. It's more about how we actually feel in our bodies. And that's not me, I'm not against people if you want to lose or gain weight. I'm very much like, it's the motivation behind it and whether that will really solve the issues that are going on for us. So quite often we might lose weight, put on weight, get to this ideal body that we want, and we're still kind of not happy. And that's generally when we have a body image issue. So basically, quite often it gets split into 4 parts. So basically, in a nutshell, it's kind of how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we think about ourselves, and how we kind of behave around that. So basically, it's like the perceptual, so how we physically see ourselves. So when we look in the mirror, what we actually see. And quite often, that can be very, very distorted. So I don't know about you, but quite often what we see in a reflection isn't actually what we look like. So it can depend on our mood, the lighting, whether we've just had a meal or not. There's so many things that play a difference. Actually, what we see generally in the mirror isn't actually what we look like. There's then the affective. So the affective is basically that there are things that we like about ourselves and there are things that we don't like about ourselves and our bodies. And basically, it's the affective is our general satisfaction with how we look. So as an overall, how satisfied we are in relation to our appearance, our weight, our shape, our body size kind of comes into that bit. It's like our general body satisfaction. The third one is the cognitive. So this is often the big one. So basically how we actually think about our bodies and ourselves. So quite a lot of people will perhaps hold the belief that, okay, I will feel better about myself and I'll like myself, my body more if I lose weight. Or, if I'm thinner or if I have a different body shape. So often the thoughts and the beliefs that we have around how important it is to lose weight are obviously mixed in there. And then the fourth one is our behavioral. So this is basically when we are dissatisfied with our bodies, we will generally behave in a certain way. So we might do quite harmful or unhealthy behaviors as a result of the other 3 things. So if we see ourselves in a negative way, or if we feel dissatisfied in our bodies, and if we're having a negative thought about ourselves, we're generally not going to behave quite often in a way that actually then makes us feel good. And that can kind of show up in destructive behaviors. So it could be things like disordered eating, really restricted diets, over exercising. Sometimes we can go too far, can't we? In order to change our appearance, basically. And on a social level, behaviorally, we can isolate ourselves, miss out on social events. Mental health wise, we get anxious and stressed. So all these things kind of tie in to be the construct, so to speak, of body image. And often people can think it's such, it's just about changing our bodies. And quite often what I'll find is when people come into my world, sometimes they're like, oh, actually, once the awareness goes, oh, actually, there's a lot involved, and actually, and some people back away then, because there's a lot of things tangled up in it. And I always say, our body image and our general self-image are so entangled. Like, we cannot really like ourselves, the whole person, if when we look in the mirror we dislike ourselves and our bodies horrifically. And on the other flip side, if we are so dissatisfied in our bodies, it's very unlikely that we actually like ourselves, the whole, and our life. And they're so blended, and there's so many facets to it. Yeah, that is, hopefully that explained it not too complicatedly.
Mhm. No, it's very interesting, because usually there are a lot of other things going on, right?
Yeah.
The whole mental health issue, in terms of how we feel about ourselves. And it's if
Yeah.
we just lose that last 10 pounds or that last 20 pounds, whatever it is, then we're going to be happy. That'll do it. We'll be happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's very, very seldom the case. And then we've got that negative attitude towards ourselves, and we feel like we failed. I'm a confessed yo-yo dieter in my life, so I totally get it. I totally understand this whole scenario. And you think it's all going to be better, but it's really not. And then you gain the weight back, and then you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So
And the thing is, it's like with our bodies, like our bodies change all the time for various reasons. Something could happen which changes our body, or maybe we have kids, or we get older, and there's no way my body looks like it did at 20, and when I'm 65 it won't look like it does now at 40. So it's going to change all the time. And if I have to manipulate my body to feel good, then I'm going to be doing that for life. Because if I get confident in the body I'm in, but only this body, and then it changes, I'm starting all over again. So we've got to get to that point of acceptance, which is kind of what I'm all about. And just knowing that, do you know what? There's bits I don't like about my body. There's bits I do like, but it's serving me to live my life and just look after it that way, rather than trying to change it.
Absolutely. It's almost like thinking about more about what our bodies can do for us and what our bodies have done for us. If we've had children, and we can run up the stairs, or we can do squats, or we can lift some weights, or it's just getting us through life, right? And we think, and when we get stronger, it's sometimes, as a trainer too, a lot of the times I find with clients, it's the measurable improvement is the weight loss. And I say to them, yeah, but let's look at some other areas where you've improved. You can go up the stairs carrying that load of laundry now, and you're not huffing and puffing, right? You know what, you were shoveling your snow, or you were doing your gardening, and you didn't get the back pain, right? These are the things that people don't necessarily think about. It's not a little thing, but in terms of people thinking of it being a big weight loss goal, it is, I guess, to them a little thing. But we have to celebrate that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as you say, it's like, I mean, the thing is, a lot of the time we do end up thinking that it's the weight loss that brought all these changes. So we think, oh, well, I've lost weight, and I'm feeling more confident, or I've lost weight and this has happened, or this has happened. Like, I can play with my kids, or I can run around with the grandkids, or I can do these things again. Whereas it's not actually the weight loss, it's generally the habits, the healthy habits, not the dieting, but the healthy habits that you picked up to help you do that. So maybe that's getting a good night's sleep, avoiding alcohol, starting to exercise, all these little things that you did. That's what made the difference. Absolutely. Not the physical number on the scale. But it's, in today's society, it's very easy to get the lines blurred.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me ask you, so what was it that inspired you to do this work, to become a body image coach?
Yeah. So, God, do you know, well, for years and years, probably starting, oof, maybe I'm going to say like late teens, 20s. I struggle with body dysmorphia quite badly. So that's kind of like, for anyone who doesn't know, I know you will. It's really having a distorted perception of yourself. So like looking in the mirror, doesn't matter what size I got to, like my body never overly changed a lot, but I was very distorted in what I thought I looked like. So a lot of that perception side was very skewed, which led to disordered eating, over exercising, stress, anxiety, depression, all the other jazz. And basically what I found was it impacted everything. So like people always say, don't they, they'll like the cliche sound of like, don't make yourself small, when it comes to things like that and confidence. But I did make myself small. So I was very full of self-doubt about anything that I could do. So I always say, I don't know, like a bit the chicken and the egg. So was it a self-image issue? And then I started to focus on my body? Or did I have a body image issue and then I destroyed my self-image? I couldn't possibly tell you which way around that happened. Because yeah, it's all a bit of a blur. But yeah, it's like in relationships, I wouldn't go for jobs. I wouldn't go for courses at uni that I was more than capable of doing, because I thought, well, I'm stupid, I'm not going to be able to do it. Because I think we talked about before, like in my house, I was the fit one who did the exercise all the time, who had the ideal body shape and found it easy to get boyfriends. And my sister on the other side was like, struggled with her weight and was always going on diets, and my family was always on diets. There was always a Weight Watchers tub. There was always someone making a Weight Watchers shake in the corner. So we were kind of treated very differently. So my sister was the intelligent one, and that's, she would go far, and I should kind of just focus on what I was good at, which was just keeping fit and getting boyfriends, I think. So it's kind of had that thing. So I thought I couldn't do anything else. So I put a lot of pressure on myself, because I won't even say it with other people. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I had this an idea that I need to look a certain way, because this is key. Like what I'm getting taught in all these places with how everyone talks themselves, what's going on in the world. If I put on weight, then A, I have no value, and B, I won't get very far. Like no one's going to want to be in a relationship with me. Like, beautiful people go further and all that nonsense we hear. But it started to just have just a crazy effect. Like my relationships with food was messed up, with people. I went from being quite a relaxed person who, blow my own trumpet, was quite fun to be around. I was always up for a bit of a laugh. I didn't get stressed easy, to honestly being around me was a bit like being on eggshells. So like sometimes I'd be in a great mood because everything was going well. I was feeling fit. I felt comfortable in my clothes. I was hitting a number on a scale. I was happy. But then when that wasn't the case, I was honestly a nightmare to be around. I became really negative. I jumped on the scales about 7 times a day just to have a little check-in, see if, I would decide whether I could eat some crisps with a sandwich, depending on how many rolls I thought my belly had. It just became, on words can't describe how toxic. And honestly, I hit a bit of a point, really. I went to uni and studied psychology. So I did a psychology and health degree, and then I did a master's in forensic psychology. And you learn all about the brain and how it all works. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit, because on the course, I met some amazing people who had a lot of other issues, like some similar to mine, some different, who maybe hadn't had a great time. And it made me realize that I wasn't alone in kind of my thinking. And it made me realize that, okay, so I'm not completely insane, which by this point I just thought that I was, because obviously in a small body, it was a bit like, what is your problem? Like, how have you got a body image issue? Because obviously we relate it to, oh, you have to be in a larger body to be unhappy with your body, because that's just what society says. So there's a lot of isolation with that. So yeah, so I went to uni, and do you know what? I just became quite aware of myself, which honestly at the time was not a pleasant experience, because all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, it's me. I'm the problem, which we don't generally like to hear, do we? So I had to get really, really honest with myself. And at first that kind of set me off the other way a little bit, because then it's like, oh God, I'm a mess. I've completely lost my mind. What's the matter with me? Why can't I change how I think? And I went through that little patch. And then I just slowly but surely started surrounding myself with some very good people, learned a lot more things, and slowly made some really, really good changes. Starting with really small things like not going on the scale. Took me a while to just master the skill of not going on the scale. And it took me, to be honest, it took me quite a few years, because I didn't know that coaching existed. Like in the UK, we're a bit behind on that. So I just kind of like muddled along, like doing well, then not doing well. And I did that quite a long period of time. And then I started working after I finished uni. I went to work in doing psychosocial interventions. So I worked in addiction services and worked in prisons, just helping people with the mindset, positivity, goal setting, kind of doing the things I wanted to do. And then when COVID hit, and I was working from home, and I was doing a lot more training, because obviously you couldn't really see people. I was doing a lot of stuff over the telephone for the company that I worked for at the time. So I just started studying, and I saw this coaching. I was like, what is this coaching thing? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's kind of what I do. It's kind of what I already do. So I did some courses, just kind of clarify what the difference was between what I was doing and coaching, and how that worked. And when they always say like niching down, don't they? I thought, well, I'm going to have to do confidence, because confidence was something I had never had, and at the time still struggled with, and I can still struggle with at times, like the rest of us. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, what area of confidence do I want to do? And my partner said to me, well, I'm not going to tell you. We've been together 10 years, so he knows what I'm like. He's like, well, I'm not going to tell you, but if I said to you, what is the main thing you struggle with confidence in, what would you say? I was like, how I look. And he's like, yes, so maybe you should focus on that. And I read so many stats about, 91%, because I didn't realize how bad it was. Like 91% of women unhappy with their bodies, and stats that like 7-year-olds, like now, I think it's 7-year-olds, might have even been younger, are like the biggest fear is getting fat. Like I think it came above losing both the parents, getting cancer, and I can't remember what the other one. It was something else, but getting fat to them at that time was a bigger worry than any of those things, and it horrified me. And obviously I had kids, I had 2 girls, and I was like, I do not want to pass, because I've seen it get passed down from generation to generation. I do not want to pass that on to my daughters, because the idea that my daughters might treat themselves how I treated myself, just, it would make me cry if I went into it. It horrified me to my core, and I was like, I need to sort this out. So yes, I did that, did the coaching, and then just set myself up for about 1.5 years ago now, and loving it. Absolutely loving it. I couldn't imagine doing anything else now.
We're very glad that that's quite some journey you've been on, but we're glad. And once my viewers see your Facebook page and they get into what you do, they're going to be very grateful that you went through that journey, because of how you're helping other women.
I hope
It's quite something, because I get very involved with your Facebook page, which I will mention before we sign off. But it's what you talk about, how it doesn't really matter what size you are, because that's not really the issue, really, is it? Because body image issues come in all shapes and sizes. And, you look at a woman that you think, well, what's wrong? Like, what could be possibly wrong with her? Right. But that's a form of shaming right there, just to say, well, she's just really thin, she should, or she's too thin, or that's also a form of shaming, and just a form of judgment that, sometimes we don't realize. But and that just goes to show you, right, that, not most people are not happy with how they look. And, we are very grateful for the work that you do. So if you could tell my viewers watching one takeaway from this interview that they could take with them, what would that be?
Well, I'm a struggle to keep anything to one thing, but I'm going to try my best to be concise. What I would say is, to be honest, just be honest, get really honest about it. Is it a weight issue? Is it a mind issue? Build your awareness about what it is that's making you feel how you do. And to be honest, in a nutshell, just instead of thinking about how you want to look, start focusing on how you actually want to feel, and then make decisions and build habits and make changes around that. And to be honest, from my experience, the rest kind of flows, so making habits around who we spend time with, what we look at on social media, changes to our thinking so that we can think more positively, all them things. But yeah, focus on how you want to feel instead of how you want to look. And for me, that's the key to, I'm going to say happiness. That sounds a bit corny, doesn't it? But, because that's what we're all chasing. When we're trying to change our bodies, we're trying to be happy, aren't we? And happy life comes from healthy habits. That's what I've learned.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today for Fit Tip Friday. So I will be posting Natalie's contact information. As I was mentioning, she has a fantastic Facebook page called Body Image and Self-Worth for Women. And you do offer a live talk as well. I think I saw you're changing your day from Friday, but it's going to be once a week, right? It'll be once a week.
Yes. Yep. I'm actually having Friday afternoons off, but yes, once a week I come in and just do different topics.
Yep. I totally recommend you tune into that. You can also watch the replay because I'm usually online myself during that time. Yes. So I go in and watch the replay. Fantastic information. So please check that out. And Natalie has also agreed to be an expert on SC Wellness Solutions page. So you can direct any questions directly to her through my page as well. This is such an in-depth topic, and I know we could probably be on here for like 2 hours for sure. No problem.
I could easily, yeah.
Even longer, right? So I would love for you to come back sometime in the future. Absolutely. We can talk about that for sure. That would be amazing. We can get some other fantastic topics that relate to this, which I would love to pick your brain again on that. So thank you again, Natalie, so much for joining me today. And thanks to everyone watching, and everybody have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you very much.
Fit Tip Friday.